Okay, so this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do rotated shapes in multiple layers. So again, I'm going to create a new artboard by hitting Command N. Just take the first one again. It's fine. And let's make a rotated shape. Maybe I'll do something with, I don't know, I'll do the polygon tool. That might be cool. So I will, using the default colors, I'll make this polygon here. That looks pretty good. And choose it with the selection tool. And then I'm going to click on my rotate tool, just like we did in the last tutorial. And holding my option key, I can choose the center of that rotation. Click there and make some degree of the rotation. I think 15 is fine. I'll hit copy, and there's two of them. And then I'll hit Command D to go all the way around. That looks pretty good. Now I want to see this only as stroke. So right now it's got fill. So I choose all of it. And I'm going to make the fill be nothing. So now there's all of the stroke. I want to make it something that's better for laser cutter. So I'm going to make the stroke thicker. Perhaps 12. That looks pretty good. Sure, why not? And then I'm going to outline this stroke by hitting first compound path. Again, I'm just going to open up the layers here so you can see this. Right now it's a bunch of separate paths. I'm going to say compound path make. So now it's only a single path. And then I'm going to path outline stroke. And then I'm going to show it with the default colors again by clicking the default colors. And now there's the new stroke. I want to get rid of the outermost one so it doesn't cut everything out and just drop everything through. So I'm going to take my direct selection tool and select only the outermost path, hit delete twice, make it go away. Do the same thing with the innermost path, hit delete twice. Okay, so there's what we're working with. We now have little windows we can cut out of our material. So first of all, let's make it so that this shape here, this path, becomes holes that are cut into a colored sheet so that we can layer up one sheet after another. All right, so it's already a compound path. Let's now make our sheet of paper. So I'm going to take a rectangle tool and I'm going to make that color of this rectangle perhaps sky blue. Should be pretty cool. So I'm going to draw a sky blue rectangle right over the top of this whole thing. There it is. Now the problem is it's on top of the shape and I want it to be behind the shape. So I'm going to select it with my selector and right click on it, hit arrange, send to back, and that will put it behind the shape. So now we can see what's going to get cut out of it. So now I'm going to select the whole thing by drawing a box around all of this. I'm going to open up the transparency window. If that's not available to you, you can always hit window transparency here. Anyway, I'm going to open that up. I'm going to make that into a mask, and then I'll deselect this and select the one on the bottom. So in other words, make both of these selectors opposite. And now this is a mask. See, I can move it around. You can see that there's it's little windows that are now cut into this blue. So that's pretty cool. That works pretty well. So now let's say I wanted to make another sheet on top of this that had a bunch of smaller windows of this shape with a new colored material. So first thing I'll do is I'll duplicate this whole thing, change its color, and then see if I can shrink all these little windows. That's the idea here. So first I'll duplicate the layer. So here it is selected in my layers window. And where's the duplicate? Let's see. Oh, I have to select it like this. And then I can say duplicate layer 1, and now I've got layer 1 copy. First thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to lock one of these layers. I think I'm going to lock the topmost one so that the bottom one, since that'll be smaller, we'll see it through. You know, we'll see it through this window, and it'll be on the bottom. I think it's a better spot for it. So we'll lock the top one. And I think I'll turn off the eyeball too, so we only see the one that we're going to play with, which is the bottom one. So you can't really tell any difference, but you can see that I've locked the top and turned it off. We're only working with this bottom duplicate. The first thing I'll do is I'm going to change the color of this sheet of paper because I want to be able to see, you know, when I'm done that it looks different. So I will double click here on the color, and maybe I'll make it red. Click red. And it didn't change it. It wasn't selected. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, I have to select the whole thing. Let's see if now if I do it and make it red, if it'll work. Red, red, okay. Yeah, there it goes. Turned it red. Okay, so now that's red. So now I just have to shrink all of these. So the way I'm going to shrink all of these, I've selected all of the little shapes here. You could either do this by selecting everything and then shift clicking on the red box, so that's not selected. You can also do it here in the layers window just by selecting that layer, this compound path. If you click on it, this little circle right here, click to target right there, it'll also select it. So the idea is I need to shrink all of these little shapes into something smaller so that it will show through. The blue on top is larger, the red as a little smaller, and then maybe make a third layer smaller than that as a new color, which we'll do. So in order to make all those shapes smaller, one might think that this is going to be a transform function. For example, if I was to transform the scale, I could make it smaller. Transforming each would actually make each little shape smaller individually, so it won't just shrink toward the center. But it doesn't do it exactly. What it turns out is a better way to do this rather than using transform is to do path offset path. This does a much more exact shrinkage where it will shrink everything evenly from all sides. So it's object path offset path. So I'm going to open up that window, and here's the offset path window. Turn on the preview, and you can then see what it's going to look like depending upon what number you put into the offset. Here I've put negative 0.05 inches, and this is about what I want. I want it just slightly inside the original line that mimics what the blue is doing on top of it. So this is a good number for me. Yours might be different depending upon what you're doing. So you put a negative number into the offset, turn on your preview so you can see what you're doing. When you hit OK, it will leave your original compound path and the new one right on top of each other. So if you want, you can turn off, let's say, the big one or the small one. In this case, here I'm turning off the larger one, leaving only the smaller one. And in fact, I think I'm going to just delete that larger one now, just so it doesn't need to be there anymore. I'm done with it. And now I can turn on the blue layer on top, and now you can see the red below it. And so this would be your material with two different layers on top of each other that you can see below in the windows and see the next color. So let's do this again for the next layer. So I'm going to duplicate this red layer now, Just duplicate the whole thing. And here's the copy. Well, I think I'll put it on the bottom. I don't have to do this, but since this is going to be the bottom layer, I'll put it on the bottom. I'm going to lock, for now, the red layer so I don't accidentally choose anything, the original layer 1. You might label these better. Blue, red, this one might be a different color. In fact, let's make this a different color. So this is the material that we would be cutting out. I'm going to select that only and change its color to something like green, for example. Maybe a little brighter green. Okay, so that's green, and we won't see that unless we turn these other things off. There we go. There's the green. So I'm going to shrink that green even further so it shows through the blue and the red. So I'll do the same operation. Here's my compound path, which is just the little windows. And I'm going to do the offset again. Object, path, offset path. Turn on my preview, see what I'm getting. I like that. So I'll use the same number, and it'll be even too. That'll be nice. Since it'll be an even distribution between the different paths. And again, I need to see, which is the one, which is the bigger one, which is the smaller one. So it looks like this is the smaller one right here. So it puts the smaller one on top. And again, I'm going to go ahead and just delete the original. I no longer need that. I just need the smaller one. There it is. And so now that's the smallest one. It'll show through the blue without a problem. There it is. I don't know that it's going to show through the red yet. I think I have to do that clipping path now. Yeah, see the red is still has a white interior, so I have to do that clipping path thing again with the transparency. So I'm going to select this red layer right here and do that little trick in the transparency where we say make mask and then reverse these two windows, and that's it. So now you've got the blue as a window, the red as a window, and then the green underneath as the final path. And if I wanted to continue to get smaller and smaller underneath that, I would also have to take this green path right here and do that whole operation with a transparency again with a make mask. And just do that same deal. And even though it doesn't look different now, I can put something now underneath everything because now everything is just a window. Not as easy to see because there's white in the back, but let's see, I'll do something like this. Now you can see that everything is an open window, and you can see through. So that's how you do this. That's how you make smaller and smaller windows that can be seen like this.